was presently General Secretary for NIOS, North American Institute for Oriental and Classical Studies in Tennessee, and regular lecturer with the Institute for Classical Oriental and Occidental Studies at the highly esteemed Ricardo Palma University in Lima, Peru. Maharaj's interest increasingly turned more toward individual education techniques, introspection, and meditation. However, he still actively participates in seminars, lectures, and his organizations. In September 2005, he organized a festival of ancient Indian culture sponsored by several universities in Peru. The participation from the ambassador of India and other renowned international scholars formed the Symposium in Oriental Social Philosophy. So, thank for Maharaj for joining, giving his valuable time. Go ahead, Maharaj. It's all yours.
Yeah. Thank you. How can I get the link so I can send it? The YouTube link. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I gotta.
I just think.
Yeah. I gotta copy the link. Then I go to my X, formerly known as Twitter, and I post it. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Gopi Janaballabha Girivaradari. Okay. Yashodanandana Vraja Janoranjana.
Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana.
Yamuna Tiro Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari.
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana.
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana.
Jamuna Tira Vanachari.
Amuna Tira Vanachari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari.
Shri Radha Madhava Astasaki Ki Jai. Sometime there's, as far as I know, there's an interesting history to this bhajan and how Prabhupada started to chant it, some significance. But today, on Narayanam Namaskrityam, Narayanam Namaskrityam, Naram Chaiva Narottamam, Naram Chaiva Narottamam, Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam,
Devim Saraswati Vyasam,
Tato Jayam Mudirayat,
Tato Jayad Mudiraye.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So today, according to the global calendar, I think it's the 22nd in India, but today here, Houston, I guess maybe also in New Jersey, ISKCON, we're commemorating the Bhumi Puja in Ayodhya for Lord Sri Ramachandra. So everybody has been asking us Friday, Saturday, Sunday to talk about Sri Ram. And of course, we're fortunate. The name Srila Prabhupada gave us is Hanumat Prekshak. So Hanumat means of Hanuman, and Prekshak is somebody who sends a messenger. On the little inland letters, blue letters, a long time ago In India, it said Prekshak Kanam Hai. Yeah, name of sender. So Hanumat Prekshak, he who sent Hanuman with a message. The message is for Sita. And in the Bhagavatam, there's a section in the chapter 19 in the 5th canto. In the 2nd canto, Maharaj Prekshak asks maybe, I don't know, 15 questions or something. And one of them is described the structure of the universe, in terms of how Krishna creates it and these things. So in the 5th canto, Sukadeva Goswami seems to get around to that, and he's describing Jambudweep, Mount Meru, all the different varshas. And there's a description of the island of Jambudweep, and different people are chanting prayers there, worshiping different people. So first off, we have text 1, Sisuka Vacha. Kim Purushe Varshe Bhagavantam Adipurusha Lakshmana Agrajam Sita Abhiram Ramam Tachcharan Sanikarsha Bhirata Param Bhagavato Hanuman Saha Kim Purushaya Airavata Bhakti Rupasate. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, my dear king, in Kim Purusha Varsha, the great devotee Hanuman is always engaged with the inhabitants of that land in devotional service to Lord Ramachandra. Okay. The elder brother of Lakshman Agraja, and the dear husband of Sita Devi, Sita Abhirama. Okay. A host of Gandharvas is always engaged in chanting the glories of Lord Ramachandra. In one purport, one translation, the 1st cantos, Prabhupada says Gandharvas, parentheses, fairies. And if you look at the history of the fairies in the West, their characteristics, their abode, it matches the description to the Gandharvas. Yeah. And so these descriptions of characters, fairies, trolls, imps, they're coming from some source. Trolls, for example, match very much with Rakshasas, and imps match very well with Kushmandas. A host of Gandharvas is always engaged in chanting the glories of Lord Ramachandra. That chanting is extremely auspicious. Hanumanji and Aristashena, the chief person in Kim Purusha Varsha, constantly hear those glories with complete attention. Hanuman chants the following mantras. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Uttama Shlokaya Namarya Lakshana Shila Vrataya Nama Upashikshitatmana Upasita Kalokaya Nama Sadhuvadanaya Nikashanaya Namo Brahmanya Devaya Mahapurushaya Maharajaya Namaiti. So I'll chant again, and you can all try and chant along with us with your microphones closed, and we'll purify the 3 worlds by that. Om Namo Bhagavate Uttama Shlokaya Namarya Lakshana Shila Vrataya Nama Upashikshitatmana Upasita Lokaya Namah Sadhuvada Nikashanaya Namo Brahmanya Devaya Mahup Mahapurushaya Maharajaya Namayati. Hanuman's prayers. Let me please your lordship by chanting the Bija mantra Om Kara. And Prabhupada says we can chant this. It's a name for Radha, Jiva, and Krishna. Aum, Radha, Jiva, and Krishna. Yeah. And it's an impersonal address. Like we don't say, what's his name? President Biden. Forgot his first name. John. Hey, John. Whatever. His wife has a confidential name she calls him of endearment. His children. He has a social security number. So many names for the same person. So sometimes they call him Mr. President. Yeah. And so Om, it's an impersonal address to Krishna. Let me please your lordship by chanting the Bija mantra Omkara. I wish to offer my respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead. Personality of Godhead. Doesn't say supreme personality of Godhead. That's Krishna. The word Godhead comes from the English word Godhood. Like we say childhood, womanhood, manhood. Godhood. Okay. So the quality of being godly, the group of people who fall in that category. Well, there are many personalities of womanhood, many personalities of childhood, many personalities of what do you call it, manhood. But who's the supreme personality of godhood? Well, the supreme personality of godhood is Krishna. And Ramachandra is one of the five Panchatattva that make up the godhood. And he's a avatar tattva. Avatar tattva. Balaram is Prakash. Like that. Okay. Some more things. In English, the word usually refers to the Trinity: God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, which of course matches to Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and Advaita Acharya. Your Lordship is the reservoir of all the good qualities of Aryans, people who are advanced. Your character and behavior are always consistent. Your character and behavior are always consistent. Character, and behavior, and guna karma. So we see somebody, maybe we have experience of some authority in ISKCON, or at work, or in our household dealings, sometimes they're very nice and very friendly, but sometimes they become very harsh and cruel. Yeah. But he's saying that Lord Ramachandra's character and behavior are always consistent. And you always control your senses and mind. My senses and mind, if they would go off by themselves, they would be like a vicious dog, greedy, lusty. Yeah. And so because of conditioning from this life, previous lifetimes, so he always controls his mind and senses. Acting just like an ordinary human being, you exhibit exemplary character. You exhibit exemplary character to teach others how to behave. There is a touchstone that can be used to examine the quality of gold, but you are like a touchstone that can verify all good qualities. So we remember this verse, we remember this, and we come in contact with different personalities from the Gaudiya Math being advertised as different things, and so many people, different people, poets, everything else. But when we're examining their realization of Krishna consciousness or things like that, or God consciousness, or ethical standards in life, so many things. Then we remember Srila Prabhupada and reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and remembering that one of Gaudiya Math Sannyasi, very much glorified, but by comparing his literature to Prabhupada, he felt there was a little passion in there, not much, a little bit. Very advanced personality, maybe more advanced than any of us in ISKCON now, maybe. But by looking at Prabhupada's books, we can examine the quality of everything else, by examining that. You are like the touchstone that can verify all good qualities. You are worshipped by the Brahmanas, who are the foremost of all devotees. Maharaj Prataparudra, he was telling, I think, Ramananda Roy, if Sarvabhauma is worshiping him, maybe telling Sarvabhauma, you're the most learned and educated and pure person I know, intelligent person I know. So if you're recommending Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as, incarnation of the Supreme Lord, then how can I reject it? You are worshipped by Brahmanas, who are the foremost of all devotees. You, the Supreme Person, are the King of Kings, and I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So very, very nice prayer. Then after that, maybe about 6 more prayers. Okay, there's a Sanskrit. First I'll chant, and then you listen, and then maybe somebody Krishnananda, Namananda,
Yes.
can you respond?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. Yatat vishuddhanubhava matram ekam
Yattad visuddhanubhavamatramekam
svatejasa guna vyavastam
swatejasa dvasta gunam vyavastam
pratyat prasantam sudhiyopalambanam
pratyak prasantam sudiyopalambanam
Hiyanama rupam niraham prapaje.
He anama rupam niraham prapadde.
So this verse here, Hanuman's reciting, it has a very curious word in it. It says niraham. There's even a modern movement, I think, even uses this term. So what's it saying? It's saying that Lord Ramachandra has no self. Let's look at the translation. Hanuman says, the Lord, whose pure form, Zat Chit Ananda Vigraha, is uncontaminated by the modes of material nature, can be perceived by pure consciousness. We have a certain consciousness. This word's interesting. Prabhupada adopted it from the whole hippie revolution, which was very much motivated by Carl Jung. Prabhupada says of all the Western philosophers in dialectical spiritualism, Carl Jung has the most sense. So he was very powerful and prominent in developing the hippie movement. And then Prabhupada also. So they were using this word consciousness. Let's go beyond the mind. Let's go to consciousness. You know, Sri Krishna Antarastrika Bhavanamrita Sangha. That's how we say ISKCON, as far as I understand in Hindi. So Sri Krishna Bhavanamrita, Sri Krishna Antarastrika, international, Sri Krishna Antarastrika, Sri Krishna Antarastrika Bhavanamrita. So Bhavanamrita is how the word consciousness is there. And you can look for what is Krishna consciousness? Well, it's Sri Krishna Bhavanamrita. And of course, the interval very much can be understood in terms of Rupa Goswami's, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. He can be perceived by pure consciousness. In the Vedanta, he is described as being one without a second. Okay. Because of his spiritual potency, he is untouched by the contamination of material nature. Untouched by the contamination of material nature. When I was growing up, and maybe in India also, when you were driving a car, you were turning the steering wheel, and there was a direct mechanical connection from the steering wheel down to some gears, and it was amplified, and they would turn the wheel. And so when you were without moving, maybe some difficult sometimes, had to be strong, and maybe couldn't even do it, turn the wheels unless it was moving. But the other result was that I know somebody was killed by this actually. And when you're driving along, they taught you don't hold it too tightly if you're driving along some rough roads, because if the wheel ducks into a pothole, it could snap it around, and that could snap right back to the steering wheel and break your wrists. And I know one person, he actually got hit by somehow or other and died. So there's an example of us. Our potency is not, we're not uninfluenced by the world around us. But Ramachandra is so powerful that he can drive the automobile, and the reactions of the material nature don't touch him, because he's all powerful. He's actually creating all those things. Okay, yeah, he is untouched by the contamination of material nature. Yeah, because of his spiritual potency, he is not subjected to. Oh my God. Okay, yeah, he is not subjected, to material vision. Okay, he is not subjected to material vision. Okay, he is known as transcendental. He has no material activities, nor has any material name or form. So nirnama, nirrupa, niraham. All this means, he's making it very clear: no material form, no material name. Only in pure consciousness, Krishna consciousness, can one perceive the transcendental form of the Lord. Let us be firmly fixed at the lotus feet of Lord Ramachandra, and let us offer our respectful obeisances unto those transcendental lotus feet. Yeah. So this is, a very fundamental statement, right? There's so many philosophers present some idea of what we basically cosmology. What is the cosmos? How is it organized? What is our part? And maybe some idea of the goal, purpose of life, or how to become happy. It's pretty much a very, very universal word. The living beings are anandamaya vyasat. So every culture you find this idea, everything else. But how to do that? So science, the most powerful and prominent philosophy now, they're describing what is the world, who are we, and basically saying that happiness comes from sense gratification, gratifying the senses, and science is especially concerned with this. Psychology may not even be considered by physicists and people being a science like that. Yeah. So later on, science will figure out what it's already we're discovering how the mind of the brain works, and then we're going to explain things in terms of love, lust, and honor and dishonor and these kind of things. It's a whole kind of separate topic there. You know? But this is the first point that Hanuman's making here, that that Ramachandra's name, form, activities, his pastimes, his associates, his abode, his self. These are all non-material, non-material. And that's a big deal, for some people. Buddha came along and said, it's all false, it's all false, it's all false. Your mind, your family, your mind, yourself. Okay. Actually, Buddha never said that the Atma is false. Sridharananda Maharaj points out that Buddha himself never said this Atma is false. He refused to talk about it, really. He said you should investigate for yourself. Here's the tools, do it. So it's Upadharma, taking us to Dharma. And then Shankara came along and said, well, there is a reality. There is a reality, the Shunyavad philosophy is not true. There is, a reality. Pachachadesatari, whatever it is, yeah. And yes, you asked Shankara, what is it? He said, well, let's not discuss it right now, but let's calm down and work on self-realization. And when you're purified and follow the 4 principles and chant 16 rounds a day, then we'll start talking about, what is that reality? Right now, it's this nirvishesha. Yeah. Then Madhva and Ramanuja is starting to give more and more understanding like that. So it's a very, very natural position. Hanuman's talking to a lot of people here about the impersonal situation. So at this point, any kind of questions or comments anybody has? We can go on with these prayers, or some other things. Yeah, yeah. No. Krishna Namananda, you have any comments or questions?
No, Maharaj, you can go on.
Do you have a tail? Are you hiding your tail?
No, I'm not a Kim Purusha. I don't have tail. No, Maharaj.
Well, one prayer when everybody's taking stuff from Maharaj Prithu, the Kim Purushas come, and I think they say, uh, we are Kim Purusha, and when we saw this Kupurusha, Ravana, and we're Kim Purusha, Ravana is Kupurusha, we saw that you, who are Mahapurusha, killed him. So Kim Purusha means what kind of, what kind of people, I mean, not even really people almost. Yeah. My psychology background, chimpanzees have the intelligence of about a 4-year-old child. 4-year-old child can start going to school. And so but of course, it may be like a 25-year-old 4-year-old child, they'll actually risk their life to go and watch the sunset. They'll go watch a beautiful sunset, and very much danger in the jungle. So this is the Kemperutas. I have to start another program here. I guess you can all watch it because I'm supposed to turn on another program. We're using a thing called what's it called? GoToMeeting, which is I think the third biggest, third biggest after Zoom. Okay, and we will start it here, and some other devotees will be using it. Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. So now I can go back to our class here. I got what's happening. How do I? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Okay. I'm going to leave the session. Okay. Organizer, Upendra Das. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, yes, Maharaj.
Okay. I think maybe one very nice topic today, because we're celebrating the inauguration of Ram Ayodhya Mandir, and I think it's actually very what's the word? Boy, very important to discuss one aspect of that. Okay. I'm trying to close my, I guess I can do it this way. Okay. I'll close my screen here, this one. Okay. Oh, you see my picture here?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, this is Hanumat Prekshak. I I have a whole collection of these. This is one of the very most beautiful. Here's a Sita under the tree, a shok tree, I guess. And the Rakshashis are there, you know. Who was the Rakshashi who Ravana put in charge of taking care of Sita? Remember her name?
Rijata.
Rijata Prabhuji.
Who is her father and mother?
Vibhishan.
Yeah, so she's a Vishnu Bhakta, and maybe she's there. Okay, and Hanuman's giving the ring. And I've never read a single Ramayan where it says that Hanuman carries a club. He just picks up whatever he needs and smashes people with it, or tears them apart with his fangs. But let me see if I can do this now. I want to open this. Okay, I guess this is a good right here. Okay. Okay, so here we have Hanuman, and Hanuman's talking about how Ramachandra is non-material. Now, one common thing that we come in contact many times, so many times, you know this. They say, "Oh, you know, our myths, our Hindu myths are the best in the world." You know, they were composed by people in the past to teach us character, to teach us moral lessons in life. You know, and the legend of the Ram and so on. You know, so but Prabhupada is saying that these are actual histories and so on. You know, but this seems to counteract, you know, modern science. Here we're talking about Krishna, the first demon Krishna killed was a 6 mile long witch. Okay. And so you believe in these things? Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Science trumps mythology. Yeah. But we have this background in the biography. You know, I was born in 1948 on Guam. My parents were there at the end of World War II. And then I grew up in, you know, Arizona, Southern California, and finally graduated, I could say, in psychology. Got a first place prize in psychology, Phi Beta Kappa. But I had started in electrical engineering because, my gosh, science was wonderful. Science gave us radar. Science gave us atomic energy. Science, you know, so many things, medical advances. World War II was a big, you know, technological jump. And people say that after World War II, the basic idea was whatever science can do, science must do. Don't even consider the results. So we just turn science loose and produce DDT and, you know, everything else. You know. So anyway, I joined, and I was a little bit distrustful of pure science, so I didn't go into physics, but I went into electrical engineering. And I was doing very well. I studied quantum mechanics at Berkeley and these things. But then I was seeing that, talking to my professors and stuff, that the whole career, you know, was quite limited in terms of the perspective we were getting from Asia, from the Vietnam War, from coming in contact with Asian culture, philosophy, Buddhism. You know, the whole hippie thing was bringing so much Asian culture to the West. You know? So anyway, what to do? So I changed to biological engineering. That was available, very just the new major, just starting. And then I did, brain surgery on rats and everything else. My goodness. Uh, but I could see they were still trying to make everything into a machine. You make it out of mechanical parts, you make it out of electronic circuits, or here they were trying to make it out of biological reactions. You know, the Krebs free energy, Krebs energy cycle is a gigantic chemical circle, if you know it, and it's full of all these different reactions. And basically, it shows you how chewing a piece of bread in your mouth, enzymes start working right there on the starch, and how it goes down through your whole digestive system. And then different little chemical reactions, like the parts of a big machine, till it finally becomes, I think, adenotriphosphate, and that's what the cells use. That's what they run on. You know, okay, now we know what is life. No, no, but still, it was very shallow. Okay, so what's left? We did the physical sciences, the life sciences. We changed to psychology. You know, and we had to catch up. And we discovered most of them were also trying to explain the mind as being a product of the brain and different mechanical. We try to reduce it to different mechanical reactions using mathematics and stuff. And it was very inadequate. Even they themselves gave up on it as being completely functional. And they started permitting in psychology for introspective investigation. I was thinking that my mind acts like this. Okay, we can't see that objectively like physics, but we can talk about it, and we have the same experiences. So until we explain everything through atoms and molecules, we'll just have to put up with talking about the fact that we think. And there appears to be laws how we think, in psychology. Every salesman knows there's different rules by which you can control people's minds and so on. Every magician knows this. And then of course you start getting into dealing with schizophrenia, bipolar personality disorder, and so many real problems, which in many ways are much more important than having the latest cell phone, or having atomic bombs to wave at people, and so psychology still is going on, and then my mentor, he said, hey, if you really want to study psychology, you're going to have to get out of this career track and just head east. And so we had a black belt in Okinawa in karate, which is a lot of an understanding about prana. Met Prabhupada, read his Krishna book, and then we became convinced. And since we've been following our yoga, and of course, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is a scientific description from following the rules and regulations, whether you're following Muhammad or Christ or Ramanuja, then it works. Then you can actually progress to Raganuga Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, Prema Bhakti. And even within Prema Bhakti, there's different levels you can progress, you can advance, you can purify your service more and more. Uddhava was trying to go from Dwarka to Vrindavan. Of course, we don't give anything up. Whatever service we have to Krishna, we want to keep that, but we refine it and bring it within the perspective of Goloka, like that. So what about this thing? We say one fundamental principle to understand is that the Vedic cosmology talks about different ages, whereas science, doesn't really like these in its personal immediate format. Of course, there's all kinds of scientists, and some physicists become devotees. Okay, our heart is going in cycles, yes. Our stomach is going in cycles, yes. Our lungs are going in cycles. The days are going in cycles. The years are going in cycles. And they even see that the rotation of the Earth, like a top, it slowly moves around, so that the pole star, won't be the pole star for maybe, I don't know, 14,000 years or something. So this is quite natural. The universe is also going in cycles. And so there's an age of iron, an age of bronze, an age of gold, an age of silver. And carbon dating. By carbon dating, we can go back. We start investigating carbon dating. Go to the Britannica. We pay for it to get it. And they're very nice intellectual articles on these things. And you see that there are deficiencies in the process. Many assumptions are there in terms of that everything's been the same for the last 20, 40, 50, 60,000, 1 million years. The nature of time and space have not changed. So many very fundamental assumptions, which I mean, we dealt with Nobel laureates, and they're saying, yes, this is true, but it's going to be the best. And what's your idea? These Nobel laureates, they're interested in the Vedas. They're philosophers. They're not just technicians. They're not kanistadhakaris in science. And they're curious to understand new ideas, different perceptions of nature. So that's one thing, is that when Ramachandra appeared, it was like in the what can you say, in the summer, pretty much, I guess. I don't know, if we take somewhere, we got such a yuga when everything is very, very wonderful, and you don't have to plant anything. There's so much extra just growing. And then Ramachandra appeared when things were a little bit more condensed. But even still, people's thoughts had effects, and things were much subtler. For example, if you go to New York in the middle in the springtime, you find flowers blossoming and some fruits starting to grow. And later in the summer, there's ripe fruits in the trees everywhere, and boys and girls are in the park in very light summer dress, full of colors, and throwing frisbees, and the dogs are jumping. So many things. But if you go to New York City in the wintertime, you look outside, you don't see any people. You don't see any nothing. There are no people. The people are locked up in their iron boxes driving around, but they're so covered you can barely just see their faces. And there's no sun, there's no fruit, there's no flowers. So if a cockroach is born at this time, and one very philosophical cockroach tries to sell him books and preach to him about other parts of the year, oh, there's a time when there's garbage. The garbage is so abundant and everywhere, with all kinds of wonderful things to eat. And it's so warm. Yeah. And so this scientific cockroach may say, poppycock. I don't believe it. It's a myth. But even archaeologically, in so many things, there's so many things from previous ages. If you look at the pyramids in Giza, start looking at those, there's so many fantastic things that this indicate a very, very, very sophisticated culture before. And even in religion, they go through and starting to say, well, yes, these people had very sophisticated ideas. So archaeologically, looking at it, devotees do this historically. You can see there's evidence, there's support for this idea that we're talking about. Okay, so I think that maybe the fundamental principle that when Ramachandra existed, it was a much different time. He was living to be maybe, I don't know, how much ago was it? 9,000 years or something, and everything was finer, and Ravana was there. And so these are not myths; these are stories, from previous ages like that. What else can we say here? That's kind of the basic principle I think we have to understand, and then how to investigate this. Okay, looking at archaeology and the different resources, and basically they're nice. They're useful for orienting us, and giving us some perspective. Yeah. But the real process of investigation is Harinam, 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 Eva. How many scientists come into the laboratory? They're exhausted from all their lascivious activities and their household activities of eating, drinking, sleeping, mating, defending. And why are they there? Well, I got long-term funding. It's kind of an intellectually interesting project. I can satisfy my household requirements. Yeah, okay. And with Nobel laureate, he said that that's what most scientists now, they want long-term funding, something a little bit intellectually interesting. And they don't care if they're making weapons to kill people or anything else. He was Maurice Wilkins. He said, when I joined in the 50s and stuff, science was a very noble endeavor to cure all diseases, to explore the cosmos and the beauty of the world, all these things. They said now it's just become like a job. But some few people, they have this perspective, on why they're doing science. But how do you do it then? Well, you come in and you drink some coffee, and the caffeine gets your body going, because you're not being motivated by Sri Krishna, Bhava, and Amrita. And then to slow the coffee down and control it, you start smoking cigarettes. And you get this really strange science coming out of it. There's a whole perspective on the kind of science, the kind of understanding of nature they're producing. Yeah, birth control pills and atomic bombs. Okay, but that's the same thing the animals do. Fighting and fornicating, fighting and fornicating. It's the same thing, except now we do it with atomic bombs and birth control pills. Yeah, yeah, science is wonderful. So it's a very, very big area, and contrasting and understanding, Prabhupada wanted us to understand these incarnations, so on, scientifically. So our process is we realize that my actual judgment is very superficial, it's very limited, but I'm addicted to, illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating, either in a gross form or a subtle form. I can't stop eating garlic. And because of that, I eat more than I need. I'm very running around passionate. My mind is, difficult to control. So we chant Hare Krishna. Then that allows us to become detached from these bad things. And then we start to realize I'm not the sense objects. I can live without them. I'm not the senses. I can live without cigarettes. I can live in my senses more in the mode of goodness. Oh my goodness, it's difficult. I'm like an alcoholic in withdrawal, but after a while I get used to it. I get used to getting up in the morning. And then people say, my God, is this, so purifying to get up early, chant, focus, pure sounds, and pure ideas. And then when I go to work, I'm just so fixed in what I'm doing and why I'm there. And it's been very easy to have very well situated in my workplace, and people around me are starting to respond. One of our members, Dr. Jariwala, he was working with Linus Pauling. He was a big chemist, very big guy. And the same thing as he became a devotee, he said he didn't give up science, but it gave him such a purified perspective on it. And also the limits of the mechanical processes they're using for investigation and what they're finding out. Swarup Damodar, I worked with a BI for a long time, said he asked Prabhupada, can we have our own laboratory? And Prabhupada said, yes, if it's possible, you can make investigations. But he said, we really don't need to do it. He said, if they already know so much, they know so much. He said, what you need to do is sharpen your intelligence on Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and then go through and look at the stuff and explain it in a better way, And then they'll ask you, why do you get this perspective? Why do you, because Sankhya is the Vedic science, and it discusses, we have Ayurveda, Danda Veda, Gandharva Veda, Jyotish Veda, what else? So many things are there, and there's no shortage of scientific knowledge. If these things interest you, they motivate you, you can see some transcendence in them, then you can generate Brahmastra weapons. Yeah, why not? Yeah, and you can arm when Hare Krishna, ISKCON Maharaj Prekshak, to bring things under control and give them very, very wonderful weapons and stuff to use. So basically, our perspective, we're chanting, and as you go on chanting, and after a while you realize that you're not the mind, and you really start chanting from the perspective, the attitude. And when you're doing that, you can see how your senses are working in a very subtle sense. And in all these processes, you can even actually, if you want to, go into atomic physics and everything else. Paramanu, the Anu is there in the Bhagavatam. And then by chanting and very, very precisely, you can start to investigate things in your own body. What do you need to look at the external world? Everything is in your body. You can examine your brain. You can examine all of the different nadis in your body and how they're working. And then, of course, you can influence the external world and so many things, But generally speaking, what we don't need all these extreme toys and stuff that science gives us. We accept that there was such a yuga when we're purifying ourselves in the morning time. We can actually become purified, and we can actually worship the deity, which is from Dwapara Yuga. We can actually do fire sacrifices, which is from the Treta Yuga. And then by meditation, then we can actually, come to such a yuga level and so on. So it's kind of our point that yeah, these beautiful prayers by Hanuman and these different varshas are there. If you have the consciousness, you can purify your body and go there. And to understand, what is the actual position of Rama? Does Hanuman participate in in Gora Lila? Anybody got any?
Yes, Maharaj. Murari Gupta.
Who?
Murari Gupta.
Okay, how old was he? Was he older than Nimai or younger?
Older.
Yeah, I think it was like my understanding. Nimai had to go to school. Maybe Nimai is like 6 years old or 8 years old, a little boy, Some others, and they were going to the same school, maybe Ganga Prasad or something, Ganga Narayan. And
Yes.
so then Mother Sachi had Murari, walk him to school and back, And what would happen when they were walking? Lord Chaitanya would take the position of an atheist, and he would argue, little guy, he would argue there is no God. And then Murari Gupta would go, frustrated like anything, would argue back and forth. There is a God, scriptures, and so many things. And every day, going back and forth to school, Nimai was playing with Murari and just having these fantastic arguments because he was playing this part in the beginning of being a impersonalist pundit, And neither the master nor the servant would give up. Both would. Murari would go home and think about the arguments, look stuff up, and come back and have at it again the next day. So Lord Chaitanya, how did Lord Chaitanya? One time Srivas Pandit. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. Srivas Pandit saw, what's his name? Nimai, and Nimai was running around Navadvip with his cowherd boyfriends, just harassing all the pundits and all the schools and stuff. So Srivas Pandit saw him like his father, and he said, "Oh, crest, jewel of arrogance," right? So, Shiramani of arrogance, yeah. And he was acting like that. He said, "When are you going to become a devotee? You know all the scriptures and everything else." And Nimai kind of blushed and looked at him and said, "Srivas, give me a little bit more time. I'm having so much fun," like that. And Srivas couldn't understand exactly. Everybody loved him. So of course, then Nimai became a devotee. He was converted when he went to Gaya, I think, and was Ishwarapuri. Yeah, became his guru and very much converted. And then he was trying to convince Hanuman to worship Krishna. Stop worshiping Raghuvir and start worshiping Krishna. So what happened? Anybody know what happened then? Yeah. Did Murari Gupta stop worshiping Krishna?
No. He came back and said, "No, I can't worship. I can't take my mind away from Lord Ramachandra."
And he said, "So therefore you should."
You should worship Lord Ramachandra.
No. He said, "You should kill me."
Yeah.
He said, "I know you're the same Supreme Lord that I'm worshiping, and you're telling me to worship Krishna, but at the same time, too, I can't give up worshiping Rama, so I just have no choice here. So please just kill me, Then Nimai started laughing hysterically and said, "Of course you can't give up worshiping Ramachandra. You're an incarnation of Hanuman, like that, and just testing you, teasing you, So does Hanuman appear in Krishna Lila in Vrindavan? The monkeys that died, sacrificed their lives for Sita. At least some of them took birth in Vrindavan. And little Gopal is there, and he's giving very nice yogurt to the monkeys. And Mother Yashoda comes and says, "What are you giving yogurt to these monkeys for? They're monkeys." Yeah, and he shoos them away. Then Gopal says, "Oh, in my previous lifetime, I was a great prince, but I was living in the forest, and they gave me so much help, and I had nothing I could give them, and now they're coming for the reward. So how can I refuse them? I'm so opulent now. I have all this yogurt." So Mother Yashoda is shaking her head, and the guy was, "How did I get this child? Yeah. I wanted him, but he's crazy." And now, if you go on the Brajmana Parikrama with Lokanath Maharaj, I did it. I stopped counting it 8 times. I went around with him a long time ago. At some point, Prabhupada said enough, back to work. But anyway, when you get to, have you been there? Have you been to Kamyavan? Have you been to Kamyavan at all in Brajmana Parikrama? Anybody been there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Maharaj, I was fortunate.
Which forest is it in?
Kamyavan, right?
It's in the yeah. I saw yeah. What's the city there? I was the forest is Kamyavan. The city is yeah.
Is that near Vimalakund?
Kama. Kama. Yeah. And so I'll try with your gallery. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Kama, and it's a nice city. It's a nice town. It's a town. At nighttime, there's no buses. That maybe like after 7 o'clock or something, the last buses are done, and you're there. You can't go to Vrindavan Mathura. They have changed by now. So the Brajmana Parikrama, we go right through Kama, and we come right to the edge of it on Bimal Kund, which has many temples around it, and it has a whole fantastic history with the Bimal Gopis. And then we stay one day there, and we go on an interior Parikrama, and we go to a place, a Shokban. There's an Ashokban. And it's nice. It's maybe about half the size of a football field, a little bit bigger, a little smaller. And it's maintained by some, pious religious society. And they give some support for some Babaji to stay there. A very nice person. There's a nice hut. He made of straw. And they have a nice mango grove and papaya grove. And it's a very nice place. A nice deity of Hanuman. So that's the Kali Yuga representation of Ashokvan in Vrindavan. Then also there's along Sitabandhu there. The bridge is still there. And these things are like remnants. If you take a very big red apple and you go into the desert in California, the Mojave Desert, and you come back after 1 month, you still see your big red beautiful apple? No, you see a little black rock, like that. And parts that were far away, they've just, merged into the wrinkles and stuff. And so, yeah, the world was bigger, it was finer. And as these ages go on, then things get shrunken down. And so these places may very well be, that may have been where Shokvan was, that may where have been Setabandhu was. But now, time, place, also psychology, they're shrinking. And if you're there, you can experience the potency. They're there. They're accessible, at least now. As Kali Yuga goes on, they'll all be covered. So we have so much access. First canto, incarnations, there's this verse about Ram. Second canto, incarnations, there's a verse about Ram. Fifth canto is a prayer by Hanuman. And finally, the ninth canto, 2 full chapters like that, so on. So any final comments or questions here? We have to go at 8 o'clock.
There's a question from Murari Prem Prabhu. Go ahead, Murari Prem.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Murari Prema.
You were speaking earlier about how impersonalists will often see what we consider as historical facts to be, mythology.
Yeah.
At one point, that I was one of those impersonalists. I was a vehement atheist.
Okay.
I was trained as a biologist, and I was very arrogant in my beliefs.
Oh my God.
But by the mercy of Krishna, I came into contact with devotees, and I started chanting Hare Krishna, and my life changed. Everything about me changed. One thing I can't understand, however, is, and this is why I want to ask you, because you have a background in psychology and also a very thorough understanding in Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga
I did upper division mammalian physiology.
Okay.
That's how far I got, Yeah.
Bhakti Yoga is a science. And so there has to be an explanation for what I'm going to ask. What in my mind, though Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he gives you remembrance and forgetfulness, how is it, or what mechanism in my mind shifted my thought process from seeing or believing, what we consider to be history to mythology? How can I go from thinking everything was a myth to a fact? I believe this, to my core. I don't know. It's like a switch flipped in my mind. But I can't explain it. I can't defend it, to an impersonalist. I can't say, yes, this is, the history of the world.
Yeah.
I have nothing to be able to back it up because I'm a Kanishta Adhikari. I just don't know. but something in my mind switched. What is that mechanism in bhakti?
It's simply an investigation and results. You investigated, you found some things, this works, this is better. I discovered this is true, that's true. I didn't, I was, one devotee, he said he was working for General Electric, big company, and they would bring in these educational programs and back some time. So they brought in some people who were followers of Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce was this mystic guy who was predicting the future and stuff, and pretty competent American guy. And he said that's the first time he ever even thought of the fact that there was anything other than gross material reality. When I was studying for the doctorate, my mentor was Donald Campbell, who was president of the American Psychological Association, a real genius. He said he was an objective materialist, but he said, that's how I make my money. he said, I take material objects as being real, but he said, that's not the only thing, and he was coming up with all these strange things, the hierarchy of the elements, Bhumirapa Malo Bayu. Science is predominantly, this is study science, it's predominantly biased towards vision. You've got to see the results. That's when you feel safe. Oh, we can see it. You reduce the sign into a pens moving back and forth on a piece of paper, an oscilloscope. You got to see it, okay? But more subtle than that, and there's all kinds of stuff in study of perception. The bizarre thing is, even though science, physics claims to be empirical, they turn the study of the senses over to psychology. In psychology, we had an entire semester on studying how the senses work and everything else and how perception works. And physicists think, well, you look at it, you see it. No way, Baba. The degree of intelligence and perspective that goes into this is incredible. You probably would like reading. Okay, Carl Jung is one thing. We can discuss this more. You can reach us to whatever. Namananda can give you my address there or something. But they're fantastic literature. Fantastic literature. And Nobel laureates were working with Carl Jung, and Jung was aware of this. That our perception of the world, this is very easily established, that is based upon our perspective, our attitude, our buddhi, and then after that you develop a whole perception. Japanese people live in polar space. Western people live in Euclidean space, rectilinear space. We try to make the world into an XYZ reality. We try and see it that way. We construct it that way. Japanese people try and make it into circles, points with rays and angles, and they try to then experience it that way. That's a little change. When you start going into more detailed stuff on perspective, you see that, this is all based upon the mind and everything else. And then you can come through with it, one to the other like that. So anyway, we have to go now. We're a tight schedule. There are 4 big bears waiting now to take us off to go see Little Red Riding Hood or something. But we want to thank everybody very, very much. And again, we hope to have maybe more contact and we can discuss more of these wonderful topics. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Maharaj. Come on, okay. Maharaj has to go. Please join today evening Sunday feast program and Kirtan, special Kirtan for the Ayodhya Mandir opening puja. To Madhur, we have more details. You can share the timing details.
Yeah. The program is from 5:30 p.m. We will start with our regular Sunday program. 6 o'clock from 5:30 to 5:45. Tulsi Aarti 5:45 to 6. Guru Puja 6 to 6:30 is Gaur Aarti 6:30 to 7:30 will be the class. We'll break for Prasadam, Ekadasi feast. During the break also there'll be Kirtan going on in the temple. And then from 8:30 to midnight, we will be doing Kirtan, chanting the names of the Lord, while there's preparations going on in Ayodhya for the installation of the deity of Ram Lalla. And it will also be live telecasted on the screen at our temple. So that program will be from 8:30 to 12 with Kirtan. Are there any other questions on that? Or Darshan will close at 10 latest. But Kirtan will go on. And there'll be a lot of diyas offered today. So, yeah, a lot of decorations. Our devotees have been doing for last week. Yep. Any other questions on that, or?
That's about it then. I'll see you all in the today evening program. Tomorrow partner time is 7:20.
7:15 to 9:23.
Yeah, 7:15 to 9:20. Okay. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur
Okay.
Bhakti.